What's up everybody, welcome back. So the Fossil Cup is here in Go Battle League, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing what could potentially be one of the strongest teams in this meta. Basically a team comp consisting of Lucario on the lead with Jellicent as the save swap and Shadow Swampert as the closer. Now this is like an ABB line where you're going to be using Lucario as the lead and Jellicent as the save swap to bait out some grass types like Cradily, Ferrothorn or Ludicolo, so that Swampert is a pretty clear path to sweep towards endgame. And obviously Lucario is absolutely incredible, as you probably already know. I mean, this thing is ranked I think number 2 on PvPoke, and Jellicent honestly is one of the most underrated Pokemon in this meta because there aren't really too many hard counters for this thing in this current meta. I mean, you can probably say Registeel with Zap Cannon obviously does pretty well against it, but we have 2 solid Registeel counters. And Shadow Swampert, I mean, that thing is an absolute goat, right? It pretty much dominates any meta that it's a part of, and it's an absolutely incredible closer. So there was some really fun battles today. Honestly, I had a lot of positive sets with this team, and I did try out Shadow Ball in the first few sets with Lucario as the second charge move, and I did switch it up to close combat in the second few sets. You can run either of those depending on the coverage you want. But anyways, there was some really fun battles in here, and let's just get straight into it. Moving on to the first battle here, we have Lucario into a Swampert. Not the best lead here. So I'm actually going to count and I'm going to try and catch the Hydro Cannon on the Jellicent, which is perfect, right? We banked a Power Up Punch and also we managed to waste a bunch of their energy there, which is great. And now they make a switch into their Registeel. Obviously not the best matchup for the Jellicent here. So I'm going to try and get off the Shadow Ball, and I'm hoping that I can do enough damage to put this Registeel into counter farm down range for Lucario here. So at this point, I'm not going to shield this because there's no point shielding. We're going to lose this matchup anyway. So I'm going to let this go through here, and I'm going to come in with my Lucario and go for the Power Up Punch right away. And the reason I do this is because I want to get off the boosted counter damage and take out this Registeel before they can get to a Zap Cannon, right? Or a Focus Blast basically. So I'm going to try and farm it down here. We're barely able to do it. They're probably very close to a Focus Blast there. Expecting the Swampert to come back in, but then again, Swampert is dry on energy and we have a Power Up Punch. So I'm going to go for the Power Up Punch right now. Hopefully they shield, thinking it's a close combat, and we do get a shield, which is fantastic. And this is where Lucario can be absolutely devastating because, again, these boosted counter damage is just doing so much to the Swampert here, and I can safely shield the Hydro Cannon right now. Unfortunately, we lag a little bit here, and also ends up being a third shield glitch. I mean, my shield doesn't register, their Hydro Cannon fully doesn't register. But anyways, I'm going to go for the Power Up Punch right now. Does take out the Swampert, and then they have their own Lucario in the back, and 2 counters did about 50% of Lucario's health. And we have our Shadow Swampert with the shield advantage. And yeah, they decided to concede the match. So I guess we had that for the most part. In spite of the third shield glitch, we probably would have pulled it out anyways. Moving into the next one here, we have Lucario into a Pelipper here. Not the best matchup once again. So I'm going to count and try and catch the Weather Ball on the Jellicent, which is perfect. Once again, we banked a Power Up Punch, and then we would manage to waste a bit of energy on their part. And they are staying in, which is kind of surprising. I'm glad they're staying in because Jellicent is my best response to a Pelipper in this team comp. So I'm going for the Shadow Ball right now. Shadow Ball does take out the Pelipper. They probably thought that was a Bubble Beam Shield Bait or something, which is perfect because at this point we have quite a bit of health on the Jellicent as well, right? And they come in with their Swampert, which is definitely not a counter to a Jellicent. This tells me that the whole team could probably be weak to Jellicent, and that can happen, right? In this meta, a lot of team comps are actually weak to Jellicent. I bait with Bubble Beam, we get a shield, and now I'm able to get to a Shadow Ball here. They're either going to have to give up their second shield or take massive damage. That did so much damage to Swampert, and we get the extra Hex through. I'm not going to shield this. This is probably going to be an Earthquake, but I'm still going to let it go through here. I want to preserve the shields for Lucario. Going to come in with my Lucario. They have their S-Cav in the back. They have 2 shields. I'm actually going to bait with Power Up Punch right now, and Power Up Punch does give the shield. They actually have only 1 shield, beg your pardon, but they do shield that luckily, and we have Swampert with 2 shields, and this game is over right now. And once again, I mean, the thing with Lucario is that you're going to be able to force shields from the opponent, and Swampert in the back, I mean, with shield advantage is absolutely devastating. Moving into the next battle here, we have an Empoleon. Empoleon's a pretty interesting pick. It is a bit tricky to use simply because of the fact that it does lose against quite a few Pokemon in this meta, but I'm going for the Power Up Punch right now, and they actually die with the Hydro Cannon there. They did about 5 waterfalls there, and they actually come into their Poliwrath. So I'm actually going to count and catch a move on the Jellicent, which is perfect, right? Everything Poliwrath has is resisted by Jellicent, and luckily we don't get the debuff as well. And now we bait out the Ferrothorn. This is exactly what you want. This is how this team is supposed to work. Obviously, you want to basically bait out the Ferrothorn so that Swampert is a pretty clear path to sweep towards endgame. And we managed to get the CMP tie on the Shadow Ball, which is perfect. And then they go for the Power Up. That takes us out. That's okay. I'm going to come back with Lucario here and going for the Power Up Punch right now. Unfortunately, they sneak a Bullet Seed through, so hopefully I can counter down before they can get to a move, and barely able to counter down here. Back in comes Poliwrath. I'm going to go for the Power Up Punch here. And Power Up Punch, I'm hoping it gets the shield, but they smartly no shield that, but that's fine. As you can see, these counters are just doing so much damage, and they decide to farm down, but this Poliwrath is almost pretty much like at like very minimum HP right now, and I don't even have to throw a charge move, right? I can just safely shield this up and we should be able to mud shot down there. So I mean, that's one of those situations because Lucario does so much damage with its fast moves. A lot of situations you can actually win with opponents having multiple shields on their side as well. So we met with another Swampert in the lead here. Obviously not the best matchup, and I'm gonna count and try and catch on the Jellicent. Unfortunately this time I failed the catch. They store a bunch of energy and then switch into their Skarmory. Skarmory is another interesting pick. Again, could be slightly tricky to use in this meta, especially in a meta dominated by rock and steel types, but it probably does pretty well against Cradily and Ferrothorn. But anyways, I'm going to shield this up because, I mean, Skarmory isn't necessarily a hard counter to a Jellicent, but so I'm once again predicting that whatever they have in the back is also weak to Jellicent. So I'm actually going to bait with Bubble Beam right now. We do get a shield, which is fantastic, and I'm able to get to a second Bubble Beam here. This is going to put it pretty low to a point where I can actually farm it down, right? But they actually give up 2 shields, which is amazing. This is exactly what we want. And they actually store a bunch of energy, and they come back with Swampert and throw their energy. This is fine by me. They actually bait with Hydro Cannon. I'm going to try and get to a Bubble Beam, and I think unfortunately we lost the CMP there. So I'm going to let it go through. It's completely fine. Because the Swampert is completely dry on energy, I can come in with my Lucario here and go for the Power Up Punch right now, and I should be able to farm down the Swampert before they can get to a move, right? A couple extra counters should be able to take it out here, and then let's see if they come back with Skarmory. They actually come back with their Gfisk. This is absolutely perfect because these boosted counters and Power Up Punches are absolutely going to tear through Gfisk. As you can see, absolutely destroying the Galarian Stunfisk there. They do get off a move. We sneak an extra counter through, so I'm definitely shielding this up, expecting them to snipe with Skarmory, but I'm able to get to this Power Up Punch on the CMP against the Skarmory here. Power Up Punch will take out the Skarmory, and they basically wasted a bunch of energy, and then we're able to, I mean, it ends up being a double KO against the Gfisk, but that's fine. We still have a full health Swampert in the back, and Lucario once again absolutely cleaning up big time there. So moving into the next battle here, we have Lucario into a Lucario mirror matchup. I'm hoping I can win CMP in this matchup here, and I am going to stay in, and then I'm going to try and go for the Power Up Punch here, and we do win CMP. That is fantastic because yeah, this is probably going to get the shield from the opposing Lucario as it does there, and then they're going to go for a Power Punch. I'm going to let it go through. I'm not going to shield this. I'd rather take shield advantage at this point. I'm going to come in with my Jellicent and completely farm it down, right? Because they cannot get to a Shadow Ball in time. We sneak an extra Hex through as well, which is great. And this is just going to be a Power Punch, which is double resisted. And I should be able to farm down here. And they actually come in with their Cradily. Now this is slightly unfortunate because now I have my 2 water types against their Cradily, but we have so much of an energy advantage and we have shield advantage as well. We get the shield with the Bubble Beam, which is perfect. I'm going to be able to get to the Shadow Ball here. This is going to do massive damage against the Shadow Cradily. And then I'm going to try and get to another Bubble Beam here, but they actually bank a bunch of energy and then switch into their Golduck. Now Golduck is another interesting Pokemon. It's actually pretty good in this meta because it is a pure water type. It's going to do well against Mud Boys, and also it has access to Cross Chop, right? Which is going to do pretty well against some Steel and Rock types as well. This is just going to be a Cross Chop, once again double resisted. I don't really have to shield a thing here. Obviously Golduck I think has no play against Jellicent here. I'm going to go for the Bubble Beam. I'm going to come back with my Swampert and try and farm it completely down so that I can get off a Hydro Cannon on the Cradily there. So they decide that we have 2 shields and they conceded the match there. So moving on to the next battle here, we have a Lucario into a Registeel. Perfect, absolutely beautiful lead here. And then they make a switch immediately into their Swampert right now. So I'm going to actually count and catch a Hydro Cannon, or at least I tried to catch a Hydro Cannon, but they don't throw. This is going to be an Earthquake. I have to shield an Earthquake because an Earthquake from a Shadow Swampert would probably come close to one-shotting the Jellicent. So I'm going to overfarm quite a bit. Unfortunately, I overfarm just a little bit more, and they're able to get to another Earthquake. I'm hoping I live this Earthquake because I can't commit 2 shields, and we barely survived the Earthquake there. That is amazing because now I'm going to be able to get off this Bubble Beam right now. It doesn't get the shield from Swampert. I'm able to get to the second Bubble Beam as well. And let's see if they want to give up their shield. Here, they do want to give up shield. So they want to maintain switch advantage right now, but it doesn't matter because both Lucario and Swampert do pretty well against Registeel, right? But unfortunately, they have a Pelipper in the back. I'm going to immediately switch into my Swampert here, and they come in with their Registeel. I'm going to go straight for the Earthquake right now because this is either going to get the shield or pretty much one-shot the Registeel here, and it one-shots the Registeel, which is perfect. Back in comes Pelipper, and then I'm going to go for the Hydro Cannon right now. And then, yeah, I'm really hoping that, you know, I can get at least 1 shield with the next Hydro Cannon so that I can come back with my Lucario and throw a close combat here. Obviously, this is the battle where I switched up from Shadow Ball to close combat, simply because I feel like in this meta, I mean, close combat is obviously a bit cheaper than Shadow Ball, and it just does so much super effective damage across the board, right? And unfortunately, I mean, fortunately, I should say, Weather Ball does not KO. We're barely able to get to a Hydro Cannon here, and Hydro Cannon actually takes out the Pelipper. So they, I mean, understandable why they let that go through, because even if they had shielded that, I could have come in with my Lucario and gone for the close combat. So they wanted to preserve the shield for a move coming from Lucario, but they had no choice anyways there. So we met with the Poliwrath here, not the best lead. So I'm going to count and try and catch a move on the Jellicent. Unfortunately, they don't throw. Once again, they bank a bunch of energy and then they switch into their Pelipper right now. I saw quite a few Pelippers, which I think Pelipper is pretty solid in this meta. It does have to watch out for some of those rock types and Registeel, but it actually is pretty good, right? But Jellicent, I think, has a pretty good matchup against it because they were slightly slow to switch out as well. I'm going to safely shield this Hurricane here, and then I'm going to overfarm just a little bit more. Probably could have done a couple of extra hexes there, but I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball right now. Shadow Ball will not one-shot, so yeah, it doesn't really matter because I'm going to be able to get this extra farm here anyways. And this is just going to be a weather ball. I don't have to shield this. I can just safely let this go through, and we're able to farm down here, and then we have switch advantage, which is really nice. And let's see what they decide to come in with. They actually come in with their own Jellicent. I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball. I'm hoping they let this go through because my Jellicent is the only solid response to their Jellicent. They let that go through, which is fantastic. Immediately switching to my Swampert and going for the Hydro Cannon here, putting some massive pressure onto this final shield from Jellicent, and we do get a shield, which is great. They throw a move. I don't care if it's a Shadow Ball. They're probably baiting with Bubble Beam. Even if it's Shadow Ball, I don't really care. I'm going to let this go through. It doesn't one-shot. Back in comes Poliwrath. They're going to go for a move right now. It is going to be probably an Ice Punch. It is an Ice Punch here. Interesting they're running Ice Punch in this meta. I'd say probably Dynamic Punch. And Scald is probably the better moveset. But anyways, I can come with my Lucario, do a couple of extra counters and then go for the close combat right now. And we still have a shield advantage, also a decent amount of health and Jellicent in the back, and this game is over here. Back in comes Jellicent. They decide to concede the match there. So, moving on to the next battle here, we have Lucario into a Shadow Swampert. Once again, we've seen this play out quite a few times here. Let's see if I can successfully catch, and this time we managed to catch, which is great. It's always nice when you manage to catch because if they store a bunch of energy and switch out, that can always be dangerous towards endgame. But they are still staying in, which is really surprising. And now they actually build up back to a Hydro Cannon, and then they switch it to their Registeel. But what this does is this gives me a little bit of an energy advantage because I'm going to be able to get to a Shadow Ball here. And then I don't think I could have made it to a second Shadow Ball. I probably could have tried, but I decided to throw the Bubble Beam anyways just to get the debuff off. And then at this point, I think they are over farming quite a bit here. But yeah, they can just go for the Zap Cannon right now. And I'm going to actually come in with my Lucario and hopefully I can counter down, right? This is where I actually make a bit of a mistake. I should have thrown the Power Up Punch and then try to counter down because Registeel is just so tanky. As you can see there, they are able to get to a move. I'm going to have to shield this unfortunately because Focus Blast will obviously easily one shot. And Swampert is a move as well, right? I'm expecting the Swampert to come back in immediately going for the Power Up Punch right now. And then this is probably going to get the shield from the Swampert. And this is exactly why running close combat really helps, right? Because you can get to it so quickly. I'm going to go for it right away. They think it's a power-up punch and they let that go through. It takes out the Swampert and wastes a bunch of their energy. They come in with their Pelipper once again, going for the close combat. This is a boosted close combat, even though resisted should do quite a bit of damage, but they shield that. I was really hoping they would let that go through because, I mean, obviously close combat from a Lucario would do a lot more than Hydro Cannon from a Swampert. I'm going to let the first Weather Ball go through because I know we can survive that. Unfortunately, we lagged just a little bit. I think I lost like a couple of fast moves there. But I'm going to have to shield the second Weather Ball and this is going to be very, very challenging. Right? As you can see, we just lagged just slightly a little bit. I'm going to actually almost build up to 2 Hydro Cannons and go for the first one. But I think Pelipper is going to be able to outpace here. So we're going to try and get to the second Hydro Cannon. Not able to do it. Pelipper gets to a Weather Ball there. And they take the match there. So yeah, I mean, there's still a little bit of Lucario, but unfortunately, the health on Lucario is just far too little. If I had baited with Power Up Punch, I probably would have had another Power Up Punch, but yeah, there was no guarantee they were going to shield that anyways. So moving into the next battle here, we have a Magnezone on the lead. They make a switch into their Water Gun Lantern here, and I'm going to come in with my Swampert. Obviously, Swampert doesn't have the best matchup against a Water Gun Lantern. Obviously, it makes sense to run Water Gun in this meta, but with Water Gun, it's going to take a lot more time to get to their charge moves, right? And we get a shield with the Hydro Cannon, which is perfect. I'm going to absolutely shield this because Hydro Pump would easily KO Swampert from this range. And then I'm going to actually build up to 100 energy and once again go for the Hydro Cannon bait here. Even they're probably not going to shield this, but even though it's resisted, still does quite a bit of damage, right? And I should be able to Mud Shot farm down. Unfortunately, they get to another move. This is probably just going to be a Thunderbolt, but I have to shield this anyways. And I'm going to completely farm it down. We have almost 100 energy on Swampert. Immediately throwing the Hydro Cannon onto the Lucario here. So their whole team is kind of weak to Mud Boys, which is interesting. I'm going to actually bank a Hydro Cannon and then come in with my Jellicent. And they come in with their Magnezone. But the good thing is we have an energy advantage on Jellicent. I'm going to be able to get to this Shadow Ball here. And Shadow Ball will easily knock out this Shadow Magnezone. And back in comes Lucario. And even if they go for a Shadow Ball, we still have a move on Swampert. So this game was pretty much over anyways. And also I think we had like a full health Lucario in the back. So yeah, for the most part, we were able to take that. And that was a 4-1 set. Could have gone 5-0, like I said, except for probably one of the battles where I lost. But overall, this team honestly ended up working out really well for me. And if you're looking for a solid team comp to climb rank, I would highly recommend this one. You could probably try Registeel in place of Lucario if you want a more consistent, reliable, a little bit more bulk on your team comp. But I think Lucario is absolutely incredible. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you next time.